Rafael Gilberts. Welcome to my live call tonight. And it comes with a question. Is your kindness ruining your team? And let's see what I mean by that. And for those of you that do not know me, I've been involved in network marketing over 40 years. I share a lot of what I've learned on these live calls. I share my journey, I share my experiences. So if that interests you, listen, I'm going to acknowledge some great people that are joining now. And I usually go on at 9 o'clock Eastern, but this time I've a little late. It's almost 10, but I've been in my gym working out. I feel good, so I'm not going to feel bad about it. Anyway, so Jody Collins in Alabama, good to see you. John, forgot where you live, but nice to see you. Tamara in Missouri, good to see you. Cindy in New Jersey, good to see you, Cindy. And Yvonne in Florida, how are you, Yvonne? Hope you're doing well. Enjoying the summer heat in Florida. It's got to be pretty hot down there sometimes. You know, we talk about halfbacks. That's those people in the north that hate. Oh, Salt Lake City, cool. Nice to see you, John. And John in Baltimore. We call them halfbacks, people in the north that go to Florida because they hate the winters, only to go to Florida, and then they're like, oh my gosh, it's so hot. And then they go move to Tennessee. So, you know, the halfway point, we joke about it. We call them halfbacks. They want to find moderate weather. And Abigail in Nigeria, nice to see you, Abigail. I don't know what time it is in Nigeria. Not sure if it's earlier or later. But anyway, welcome to the call. So, and let's see who else. We'll acknowledge a few more great people. And yeah, Yvonne says a bit too warm. Andrina in Texas, how are you? Good to see you. And Balak in Hyderabad, India, nice to see you. You're the furthest one out, okay? Yeah, unless somebody from Mars shows up. Norman in the Philippines, nice to see you. And Abigail says 3 in the morning. Oh my gosh, it's 3 in the morning in Nigeria. And you're up at 3 in the morning. Oh my gosh. Well, either you can't sleep or you're an early riser. Robert in North Carolina, nice to see you. Good to see you, Robert. Yeah, but 3 in the morning in Nigeria, okay. And then India, that's early in the morning right now, actually. Brooklyn, nice to see you. How you been? It's been a long time since the last time I saw you at the ANMP. I hope you and your mom are doing well. Nice to see you on the call. Hey Eden, nice to see you and thank you for your comment about my book today, and I'm glad it brought value to you. Yeah, nice to see you too, Robert. So, tough love and conflicts in a team. Nobody has conflicts in a team, right? We might have conflicts in a team, but sometimes when it comes to tough love, it's like you hear crickets, Leaders don't know really what to do with that. And thank you, Brooklyn. Hope you're doing well. And I wonder if Jackson Hole, Wyoming, if you're still working on getting you a place there. I know that was one of your dreams. Zero in Salt Lake City. Good to see you. But when we talk about tough love, I thought it would be cool just to try to get a definition of it. So I decided to Google a definition. And it said the promotion of a person's welfare, especially that of an addict, a child, a criminal, and enforcing certain constraints on them, requiring them to take until they take responsibility for their actions. Well, it's sort of be an interesting thing to do that with your downline, wouldn't it? They're certainly not children or they might act like children, but they're certainly not addicts and criminals, hopefully. But no question about it, when we talk about tough love, we're talking about just what that sounds like. And that is that we have to be hard on somebody we actually care about because they're doing something that's hurting themselves and hurting their team. And ultimately, here's what you leaders have to understand. It hurts you. And it can hurt you in a big way. I've seen entire downlines disappear. Shirley, nice to see you. Good to see you. And Rosia in California, nice to see you. So the thing is, it's easy to praise people when they're doing well, especially if they have a team that's doing well. Because if that team is doing well, you're doing well, right? And we want to keep it that way. But when things start to be destructive and when that leader is doing things that's harming themselves and it's harming their team, and again, it's harming you, to ignore it and pretend it's going to go away and it persists, that's like getting symptoms of a serious disease and thinking that if you just ignore it, it will get better. We all know that's not going to happen, right? The thing that we need to do, really, the smart, wise thing to do, though it may not be easy, is to nip it in the bud, right? Knock it out before it becomes a big, huge problem. And that seems to be the trend of those kind of situations as they do become big problems. And I've seen it over the last 40 years. So the thing about it is, it's sort of like raising children. If you're a parent, you understand that. If your child is doing things that is not in their interest, it's not going to be good for them. You have to call them out and you have to work with them. Look at your downline in the same way. But here's the other thing too. Be ready when it comes your way. That's right. Just because we're the upline, that doesn't mean we're smarter, better, and we're beyond reproach, okay? Because we make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I love in the book of James in the Bible, it says that any man that's able to restrain his tongue perfectly is a perfect man. Well, there are no perfect men or women. So the thing is, we're going to say things at times and then later sometimes regret that. We get called out on it. Hey, the best thing to do is realize it, apologize for it, and then move on. And that's it. Because time heals all things. It really does. But again, to ignore it won't help. But let's get back to how you're going to handle it in your team, though. And when it comes your way, here's the thing that most leaders will do. They'll sort of ignore these kind of situations because they're afraid of confronting a leader. They're afraid how that will damage their relationship with that leader and possibly even the business. So they avoid it. But that's not the wise thing to do. Again, as I mentioned, if you ignore it, it's only going to get bigger. And I've seen this happen. Like I said, I've seen situations where, I've seen many situations, but where sometimes leaders, they might have somebody in their team that they want to go their own way and teach it their own way. They got their own style, the way they want to do it. Sometimes people will have problems with that, and the upline feels like they have to control them because they want a uniform way to teach this. And if you don't do it our way, it's the highway. And we'll blackball you. We'll make sure that you're not recognized. We'll make sure you're not used at events. We'll make sure that you're not welcome or your team is not welcome at our meetings. So it's a path of destruction ultimately. So the thing about it is, how are you going to deal with that? Because I've been in those situations, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. So I'm going to make some suggestions to you, about, and again, I base this on the past. All my suggestions that I'm going to make are things that I've gone through. So first of all, make sure, step one, and I'm going to give you 5, okay? Make sure before you talk to that person, check your motivation. Make sure it's coming out of love, not criticism. I know it's easy to get angry. I've seen uplines treat downline leaders that were great downline leaders. Again, up, down. Down doesn't mean lesser leader than up, okay? So you understand what I'm saying. Treat them horribly, and now I get so angry when I see that, because there's no, in my opinion, we're a half century, more than a half century in the history of network marketing. Why should we have this kind of treatment anymore of people who would do that, right? Well, they do. I've accepted the fact that what they did 40 years ago, they'll still do today. So the thing about it is, make sure you check your motivation. Make sure you never talk to that person when you're in a state of anger, because you're going to say the wrong thing. Really, you will. Best thing to do is cool off, take a break from it. A few more days even, or a day, won't make a difference in this problem. Maybe, hopefully it won't. But the point is, and if it's something that you can't wait a day, then okay, then what you're going to have to do is really work hard on not showing anger, but think about what you like about that leader. Okay, focus on that. Ask yourself those questions. What are the good things that this leader has done? And what you've always in the past have always appreciated about this leader. Let that frame it. That's very important that frames it before the conversation. And then you're going to come out of it with a different motivation. And then it has to come out of love, that you really care about that person, what that person is doing, not just you. Let's get you out of it. Let's get me out of it. What are they doing to themselves? Okay? Because when you're going to talk to that person, that's what it needs to be about. How it's hurting them. Don't say, hey, man, look what you're doing to me. I'll talk about that in a minute. But first of all, it has to be what you're doing to you. And that you're concerned about how that's going to affect that person. So that's the motivation. The motivation is, hey, man, I love you. I care about you. I'm really concerned about what's going on right now and how it'll affect you long term. You've worked hard to get here. Oh my gosh, look at everything you've done to get here. So that's the first thing. And then here's the other thing. Depending on the severity of the problem, it comes in different degrees, right? Different degrees. I mean, and the longer you put it off, the more severe it's going to get. Just understand that. So sometimes a phone call will do it. If it's less severe, a phone call will do it. Don't text. This is the text message generation, These kind of when you have problems, don't text them about the problem, and don't do it after you've had a glass of wine, okay? And you're angry and you're trying to calm down, and you send them a message, you freaking jerk, do you know what you're doing to the team? Okay, because the next day you're going to regret it. Don't have any alcohol when you talk to them. So but again, the longer you wait, the more severe. Less severe, phone call can be fine. A voice conversation, most important, because they need to hear your voice. They need to hear your empathy. They need to hear your emotion. They need to feel you They can't feel you in a text. And sometimes just because of punctuations or exclamations and things like that, they can totally misread your emotions in a text. I know, I've done it. I've had it happen. And especially if you use voice dictator and then you don't check it, and then, oh my gosh, I'm serious. I've had some people in the past, they text me back, why did you say that to me? Well, why did I say what? And I read the text. It was a voice dictator and I didn't check it. I just hit send. Oh, it's horrible things that sometimes it just suggests, So again, if it's not so severe, a phone call will work. And then you got to get them on the phone. And again, go back to step one. Where's your motivation? Is it coming out of love? Is it coming out of you're concerned about that person, what they're doing to themselves, how it's going to affect them? It has to come out in the tonality of what you say. Most important. Isn't it amazing that I've been in network marketing 40 years, but I'll tell you what, despite all the modern advances, social media and apps and everything that we have, technology, and we can do this too, and we can do Zoom calls and all that, there's no replacement, no substitute for the importance of mastering people's skills. Communication's important. Come on, I'm a guy that went as far as high school, and I get this. I mean, I read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That's the Bible of network marketing. And so the thing about it is, I can tell you that anytime I've had to go to leaders about problems, that book was so invaluable and helpful to me in defusing very serious situations. Very serious situations. I can remember one time when I was I was overseas in another country, and we had a blowout event, thousands of people at it, and I was on stage, and it was all over, and the top leaders were on the stage, and we were all waving goodbye to everybody as the graffiti was coming down, and I was standing next to a leader, and I said to the leader, I said, so how is it going? And I'm just smiling, and then he says, not so good, Jeff. And I'm like, oh my God, not so good. Smiling, and then I said, okay, so we need to talk about this. And then as I did, what happened was that wasn't the place, but I told him I'd call him, and that's what I did. And so he said that he needed to see me, and his wife needed to see me, and I said, wow, I'm leaving tomorrow, I'm flying out. He says, well, maybe another time. Well, I'm going to tell you right there, I could smell a big problem, and I understood that the longer it goes on, the more severe it becomes. It's like a disease that sets in, right? You ignore it, then it becomes, it just metastasizes and ruins everything. It'll destroy a team. And so I said, let me see what I can do. And I just changed my flight plans, delayed it another day. I said, hey, I can definitely get up with you. Again, depending on the severity of the problem, sometimes if it's not severe, a phone call is fine. But in this case, face-to-face is the only way it works if it's severe. And so that's what I did, face-to-face. And I was so glad I did, because I didn't realize it was that big of a problem. And just to sit there, and his wife is crying, and just tears coming down, and I'm just like, oh man, tell me more. What, I really want to feel you on this. I'm going to tell you guys, the people that make fortunes in network marketing are the people that take time for relationships. They take time to make these connections, to feel their leaders, to listen to their leaders. Of course, then the next step is going to the person who created the problem, right? And again, you got to put your anger in check. And it goes back to what I said, look what you are doing to yourself. So Depending on the severity of the problem, phone call, not so severe, is fine. Never text. Of course, with the pandemic right now, then a Zoom call might be what you're going to have to do. Maybe you can't get face-to-face. If I had a leader that I needed to talk to in South Korea right now, it's going to be a Zoom call if it's a problem, if it needs to be face-to-face. So just understand this, that, and many of you know this to be true, if you have a friend in your life, and you're only going to have a few that are real close friends, okay? These are people that are going to call you out when you screw up, when you're doing something that's hurting yourself. And that's one of the aspects that makes that relationship you have with that person so important, or made it what it is. And I've been through that with leaders. When it comes to tough love, I've called leaders out, or maybe when they're stuck and they're not applying suggestions that have proven to be very productive, and they're working with other leaders, to call them out and say, look, when are you going to wake up, and when are you going to do this? Because you're only hurting yourself. Your income's declining, and I know you're better than this. You could be earning twice what you're currently earning right now if you would just open up and change. I've had these conversations in tough love, even with some of my best ones, and I've said, look, at what you're doing sucks. Now, let me tell you something. This goes back to the second step. Make sure that you have a relationship with these leaders before you tell them what they do suck, okay? Make sure you have a relationship with these leaders so that you have their permission to tell them they suck. You have to get that permission, but you can only get that permission if you have the relationship. What goes back to, in the past I've talked about this, relationships are like bank deposits. You can't withdraw something you don't have, right? And deposits are the good deeds, the time spent, whatever, with those people, and you've built a relationship. Then when it comes to tough love and you have to say something that's more direct, and you have to really cut to the chase and say what it is, you get their permission, because why? You've built that relationship. And sometimes when you haven't built that relationship, you got no choice. You just have to tell a person. But what I'm talking about, your key leaders. So make sure that you have a relation. There's a lot of people out there that, I'll say a lot. There are people out there that have great downlines, but they don't have relationships with those key drivers. To me, it's a big mistake. Some people think, well, they got to be at my level of pin level in the compensation plan before they shall come in my inner circle. No. Don't do that. That's the old methods that go way back decades ago. That doesn't sell anymore. So make sure you do that. Make sure you have the relationship, then you have the permission before you can be tough on them. Now, 3, before you get into the problem, here's the third step. Before you get into the problem, reaffirm your love and tell them what you like best about them. Spend some time on that. John, you've been in the team now 3 years, which, it's incredible what you've done. You've worked really hard for this. And I've watched you grow, I've seen, and you get into that. Maybe some details into the story that you know about that leader. That's really important to stage it, because you don't just go into tough love and say, hey, John, I got to talk to you about something, man. You're really screwing up. No. It's not the way to begin a conversation, right? Stage it. And that is, put the fluffy stuff in there, okay? Like a pillow, right? So that it doesn't hit them so hard, right? And so when you do that, think about their story, talk to them about their story, and then get into, something's come up, I'm concerned about it, and I want to talk to you about it. I love you, man. I think you're awesome. But, and then you go into the problem. Most important to stage it that way. Otherwise, it could go south on you. Now, here's the fourth, and this is important. Now, this is okay at this point. Now, first part, we've been talking about how it's going to hurt them. Here's the fourth step. The fourth step is let that person know it's not just hurting them. It's hurting me, John. It's hurting me. It's important to make them understand that you're being damaged. And understanding that they've got to be a kind person, a good person, a person with a conscience, a compassionate person as they are, hopefully they have those qualities deep in them somewhere. They're going to go, wow, man, you're right. Man, I hate that I'm hurting you. It's bad enough I'm hurting me, but I'm hurting you. Yeah, I never thought about that. They have, in the way that you sandwich it, in the way that you present it this way, they can feel your pain. And then the fifth step is to, no, before I do that, no, I'll say it anyway. The fifth step is make a suggestion on what's going to fix it. And that may not be easy. Some problems, it's very easy to fix. For example, I can remember a leader many years ago, I remember a leader, and he had nothing but ego. It was all about him. And he's the greatest networker in the world. They will build statues to him after he is gone. Books will be written about him in the Library of Congress in Washington. I mean, lots of ego, right? And it's really unjustified ego. But he just had a way of being very critical to his leaders. Just very critical. And it was obvious he only cared about himself. Now, so I can remember when I went to him and I said, hey, let's just say his name is Mark. I say, hey, Mark, hey, man, great things happening in your team. Great things are happening. I know you feel good about it. I feel good about it. And I think you've done a really great job, Mark. The time you've been with the company now, a year now, man, you really moved up, through the ranks in the compensation plan. You're doing good. I know you want to get to the next rank. But I see a problem that might stop that. And I don't want to see it happen, Mark. I want to see you reach that next rank. But I'm getting some feedback from some of the leaders, and it's concerning to me. And I'm concerned about, like I said, your future, your success, and I want to see you do good. But I think you need to lighten up on the criticism, Mark. Some of the leaders have been deeply hurt by your remarks, and it's gotten back to them, and then you've also said it right to their face. I don't think that's helpful for you, Mark. You're shooting your own foot, man. Here's a suggestion I want to make for you, Mark. I want you to read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, when I had that conversation, his immediate response was, oh, I already read that book. Mark, I would like you to read the book again. Would you please do that for me? And I would like to go over some parts of that book that might be helpful in this particular situation. Can we do that? Okay, great, awesome, man. So let's get together in you got the book, right? You have the book, or do you need another copy? Oh, you got the copy. Okay, good. So I'm gonna text you a couple of pages I think would be helpful, and let's get back on the phone, man. Again, not criticizing you, not getting on to you. I'm just concerned about, what's happening right now. And I think, look, we all need suggestions from time to time. Wouldn't you agree? Great. Awesome. That's how I dealt with Mark. Now, that was a fixable situation, and you could even do that over the phone. Let me give you another problem I had. I remember many years ago when I lived on the island of Guam, and I any Asian country was within a 3-hour flight for the most part. Singapore is a little bit farther, but and Indonesia, but in this case, it happened to be Korea. And so I had two main leaders in Korea, and they were, one sponsored the other, right? Well, the one at the top made a lot of promises to the one under him that he never kept, swore he would do it. And there was so much conflict that built up the severity of the problem, right? The longer that it goes on, the more severe it becomes. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. A phone call does not work in that situation. Face-to-face works in that situation. And what happened was there was 100 leaders that were ready to resign their positions and get out. And just, so it was a big problem. What did I do? I didn't make a phone call. I got on a plane and flew to Korea. Yes, that's right. I said, this problem's got to be handled face to face. Now, this isn't going to be easy. Again, remember what I said. It's very important that you have what? A strong relationship with your leaders if you're going to use tough love. And you have to get their permission to do that. Otherwise, the relationship goes south, right? Well, I had done that. I had done that in this case with John. And so when I met with John and I talked about the leader under him and him and 100 of his leaders that were ready to resign, I saw that the relationship between the two, it had gone on too long, for more than a year, and it was nothing but bad, and nothing good was coming out of this situation at all. And it was beyond repair, actually. So I went to him, and after talking to him about it, I said, I regard you as such a good friend. We're good friends, right? Oh yeah, we're good. Yeah, Jeff, we're good friends. Good, man. That's the way I feel about it too. And I think everything that you've done, as your leadership, it's been very good. We've grown this market very well. But you got one leader right now, and John, you know about the situation, and it's beyond repair, and it's going to become a bigger problem. I want you to know, John, this is hurting me. This is hurting me bad, and I don't want to be hurt, and I don't want you to be hurt. But the fact of the matter is, for them to resign and leave is going to be very hurtful. I want to make a suggestion to you, John. I want you to basically reverse your positions. In other words, I want your ID number to become that person's. Basically, you're selling your position to him and you're taking a position under him, and I'm going to work with you. Now, I'm going to tell you, friends, that is like an impossible scenario, and who would do it? He did it. He did it. When I emphasize how badly damaged I'm going to be by this, if it doesn't happen. And it was funny because even the corporate leaders of the company was amazed at how I handled it. And I'll tell you, when I flew to Korea, I didn't know how I was going to handle that problem. I had no clue. Sometimes you just got to throw yourself right into the middle of the game, and then adrenaline kicks in, and the next thing you know, you got the solution. But I'm saying, when it's severe, face-to-face is the only way it works. And matter of fact, that I'm still good friends with all those people. And that team is still around after 16, 17 years, doing well. As a matter of fact, when I went to that leader and I said, we're going to flip the positions, and he couldn't believe it. And he was so happy. And then, of course, the guy who was originally at the top, I said, look, I'll just work with you. Let's build another team. I'm just saying that when it comes to, and again, that was the fifth step, make a suggestion on what could fix this. Well, that was the only thing that could fix it. And it was an almost impossible scenario to go in and win. And that's what I did. So, anyway, So when it comes to tough love, ignoring it because you're worried about how it's going to affect your image or your relationship with that leader, that's just poor leadership on our part to ignore it, because it will get more severe if we don't do something. Best thing to do is nip it early. And then again, follow those 5 steps. Motivation should always come out of love. They need to feel that you have their interest in mind. That's the most important thing here. But yeah, again, when they understand it hurts you, it damages you, yeah, it works, because you get them to feel sorry for you. Oh my gosh, man, I'm damaging you. Oh my gosh. Because that's the way it was with John. Anyway, those are some suggestions. And, leadership is about taking that kind of position. And then when you do, they'll respect you for it. And and I'll tell you what, the longer your team, how long it's been around, the age of your team, my team's almost 22 years old now. I'm telling you, you're always going to spend time going through these kind of situations. Make sure that you invest into these relationships with your drivers. And then when it comes time to talk about a serious problem, again, follow these steps I gave you, these methods. It's always worked for me. And then you'll have a team that, like me, 22 years and time is still going on, and it's great. It's great, and that's because the relationships are great. So that's right, Shirley, respect. That's right. Thank you. Thank all of you guys coming live from my gym. I was, working out, and that's why I was a little late tonight. I normally get on at 9 o'clock Eastern, but I decided to do a little bit in the gym and then jump on with you fine, great people. So on Friday, we'll do a Q&A, okay? So you might want to jot down any questions you have, and then on Friday, you can, when I post and say, hey, does anybody have any questions for Friday, tonight? Then you can, post those questions anyway. So thank all of you for joining, and George is putting a link? So maybe to my book, Reach the Peak. That's his way of reminding me. If you haven't read the book, Reach the Peak, I have it in English and Spanish. Anyway, everyone, have a wonderful day or evening. It's day in Asia, that's for sure. Evening if you're in North America, South America. Have a wonderful evening, morning, whatever. See you Friday. Take care.